Buying the old house on the edge of town was a dream come true, or at least the closest my budget could get. It was a fixer-upper, filled with the ghosts of peeling wallpaper and dusty floorboards. Still, it was mine. The solitude was a welcome change from city life, a quiet place to start over. The attic was a treasure trove of forgotten things. Tucked under a canvas sheet, I found it, a magnificent cathedral-style radio from the 1940s. Its dark wood was inlaid with geometric patterns, and a large, fabric-covered speaker dominated the front. It was too beautiful to leave to the spiders, so I carefully carried it downstairs. After a bit of tinkering and replacing a frayed cord, the radio hummed to life. The dial glowed with a warm amber light. I spent that first evening turning the knob, catching faint whispers of old swing music and crackling static between distant stations. It felt like a direct line to the past, a perfect companion for the old house. Later that week, I was about to turn it off for the night when the dial landed on a clear signal. A man's calm voice filled the room, reading a local news report. But the news was wrong. He announced a citywide curfew due to shadowfall, advising residents to stay indoors. The broadcast ended with a sudden, garbled shriek and then silence. The next day, I couldn't find the station again, just static. I checked the town's official website and even asked my neighbor at the grocery store. No one had heard of a shadowfall or any curfew. They looked at me like I was crazy. I tried to laugh it off as a college radio prank, a weird piece of late-night fiction. But that night, it came back. Same frequency, same calm, unnerving voice. My blood ran cold when he read the name of Mr. Abernathy, the man who'd lived down the street from me as a kid. But Mr. Abernathy had died of a heart attack 5 years ago. I became obsessed. Every night, I listened. The announcer described my town, but a twisted version of it. He spoke of empty streets where shadows clung to corners even at midday. He warned people to avoid looking at their reflections and to board up their windows before dusk. His world was my world, but drained of life and filled with dread. One broadcast mentioned the town clock in the square, describing how it had stopped at 3:07 p.m. the day the shadows first fell. The next morning, I drove into town, my heart pounding. I parked and stared up at the clock tower. It was working perfectly, the hands sweeping past noon without a problem. The difference was nauseating. The announcer's voice grew weaker, more desperate with each broadcast. He started pleading into the microphone as if he knew someone was out there. "If anyone can hear this," he whispered one night, the transmission cracking, "don't trust the familiar faces." Then came the night that shattered everything. The announcer was describing a lone house on the edge of town, one that still had its lights on. He described the peeling paint on my porch, the crooked mailbox by my driveway. His voice broke with terror. He said, "There's someone new there. They don't know what they've moved into." My first instinct was to destroy the radio, to smash it to pieces and throw it in the river. But I couldn't. It was the only source of information, the only thing that could explain this madness. The announcer's voice, as terrified as it was, felt like the only other sane person left. He was my only guide. After that night, my own house turned against me. I started hearing things, a floorboard creaking in the empty hallway upstairs, a soft scratching from behind the walls. I'd catch movement in the corner of my eye, a flicker of shadow that was gone when I turned to look. I was becoming a prisoner in my own home. The final broadcast was barely a whisper. I could hear the announcer's ragged breathing, the sound of him barricading a door. "It's here," he gasped. "It found me by the sound." A thick silence fell, then a soft, rhythmic knock, knock, knock echoed through the speaker. At that exact moment, I heard the same sound in my own house, a soft, polite knocking on my front door. It was perfectly in sync with the sound from the radio. I froze, every muscle in my body screaming. It was past 2 in the morning. No one should be out there. No one. A voice called from the other side, and my heart stopped. It was my mother's voice, warm, familiar, and laced with concern. She lives 400 miles away. "Honey, it's me. I had a bad feeling. Are you all right in there?" The knocking became more urgent, her pleas more insistent, but the announcer's last words echoed in my head. I didn't answer. I backed away slowly, clutching the silent radio to my chest as if it were a shield. From the other side of the door, the pleading stopped. A moment of absolute silence hung in the air. heavier than any sound. Then, through the radio speaker, came a final, wet, tearing noise. After that, nothing. I stayed like that until dawn, not making a sound. When the first gray light of morning filtered through the windows, the house felt normal again. The oppressive presence was gone, but the silence it left behind was terrifying. It was the silence of a void, a deep and final quiet that soaked into the very walls of the house. I was gone by noon. As I threw the last box into my car, a man from across the street came over to introduce himself. He was friendly, smiling, welcoming me to the neighborhood. He looked exactly like the pictures I'd seen in Old Town records. He looked exactly like Mr. Abernathy.